Hi, my name is Beth, and this is my 2024 reading journal setup. So Archer and Olive journals come with these pen loops, but I don't really like the look of them too much. So I'm just starting by pulling the pen loop right out of the journal. And as you can see, it doesn't really change the shape or the integrity of the journal in any way. I've done this to a previous Archer and Olive journal, and I had no issues at all with it. The first thing I'm doing is decorating the inside cover. I'm not doing anything too extravagant here. I've learned from previous reading journal videos that sometimes less is more. So I'm doing this very basic collage with this picture of a gate, just so that there's something there when I open up the journal. On the next page, I'm just writing my name in this Gothic style font, and please don't think that I freehanded this because I definitely did not. I bought a stencil off of Amazon, which, as you will see, definitely came in handy. But again, I'm keeping it pretty simple because it's just the name page. It doesn't need to be anything over the top. The only other thing I'm adding is this little moth, just to give it a little bit of something extra. This next page is kind of a filler page, so I just like to use it as a quote page. I'm starting off with yet another pretty basic collage, and if you notice that these collages look very similar to ones that Elizabeth from Plant-Based Bride has done, that is because I suck at doing collages and I need help. I don't know if it's because I don't have enough of the right supplies or if it's because I just suck. But every time I try to do a collage on my own, it just doesn't look right. The quote that I've picked out for this page says, "I shall divide every moment between music and reading." And this is a quote from Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I read Sense and Sensibility for the first time last year. It was actually my very first Jane Austen read, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought that this quote would look really nice at the beginning of a reading journal. So I'm just finishing up this page by adding some moths in some places that look a little bit empty. The next page is my title page, and I chose to draw this big Gothic window as the centerpiece of the page. As you can probably tell, I'm going for a Gothic-inspired theme for my reading journal setup this year. I've noticed that a lot of people like to do the dark academia theme for their reading journals, and as much as I like that, I wanted something a little bit darker, and so Gothic just felt like the natural theme to go for. For my reading journals, I don't make the entire journal one theme. I only give my beginning and yearly spreads a theme, and it's just so that there's some aspect of the journal that feels coherent. But the rest of my journal won't necessarily be Gothic inspired unless I feel inclined to decorate a review page with a Gothic theme. But otherwise, the rest of my reading journal will just follow whatever vibe I give it in that moment. Another creator that I've taken a lot of inspiration from for my reading journal is Hedda from Mochi Bujo. She formats her reading journal in a very similar way, and I've loved doing it like this because it allows me to push myself to use my materials. That way I don't end up with stationery items that are too specific and I feel like I can't use them for anything other than one particular spread. But jumping back to this window, it took me so long to draw and I made many mistakes, but I do really like how it ended up, and I think that if you are inspired to put a Gothic window in your reading journal, I would recommend just printing out a picture of one because genuinely this took so much effort. I'm just writing 2024 reading journal in that same Gothic lettering at the bottom of the page before going in with a dark red Crayola super tip marker and coloring in the little hexagons at the top of the window. this just adds a little bit of color and it ties it into the washi tape on the quote page beside it. But with that, we're done and we can move on to the next page. This is my index page, and I'm starting by creating some borders. 2024 will be my 4th year of having a reading journal, but only my 2nd year of having an index. I used to have a book log spread, but I felt like it was just repeating what other spreads were saying, and there wasn't really a point to it. So I ended up switching to an index, and I like this a lot better. I'm filling in the borders with my black Tombow brush pen, which is easily the most time-consuming part of this setup. I like that it's a really dark marker, but it's not very big, and it takes so long to fill in the whole thing. But hey, we got there in the end eventually. And then I'm going in with a piece of that same brown paper that I used in the collages, and I'm just gluing it down on the top of the page. And then I'm going in with a light gray mild liner and highlighting every other line, just so there's a little more dimension to the page. It's simple, but it'll be completely filled in at the end of the year. This next spread is my Days Read tracker. I used to have this spread cover 2 pages, but I decided that this was a spread that I could condense down into just 1 page so that I can use the extra space for other things. And overall, I like how it fits on 1 page. I'm just drawing 1x2 boxes to represent every day of the year, and whenever I read on a particular day, I'll color in the corresponding box. I know that some people like to use this type of spread to show how much they've read per day or how long they read for, and they'll use different colors to represent different stats, but I personally just like to keep it kind of simple. If I read on that day, I'll color in the box, and if I don't, I won't fill in the box. I know a lot of people give up on this spread because not everybody wants to open their reading journal every day, but I've been pretty good with this one over the years, and I think that the simplicity helps. I'm using some black construction paper to decorate the top and the bottom of the spread, and just to sort of fill in the white space. And then I'm going back in with some more of the craft paper to glue on the header for this spread. This next page is my reading goal spread, where I track how many books I've read in the year. This spread has been a tried and true page for me. My goal this year is 45 books. It's the same goal that I had last year, and I barely got to it. I read 47 books in 2023, and I just don't quite feel confident enough to aim for 50 yet. I like to challenge myself while also keeping it realistic, so 45 feels achievable to me. I read anywhere from 2 to 4 books a month usually, so based on how many books I read this year, we'll see about upping it to 50 next year. I'm going in with my number stamps and stamping in each box, and this is where I noticed that I made a huge mistake. My goal is 45 books, but for some reason, I only drew in 38 squares. I don't know why I didn't count them before I went in with the pen, but it's fine. I was able to fix it. It just means that the boxes sit a little bit lower on the page than I originally wanted them to, but it's okay. So with that fixed, I went in and added the rest of the numbers. And just as I told myself that I wasn't going to make any more mistakes on this page, I decided to forget that the word complete has a P in it, and I stamped the word comlet on the page. I don't know what happened. You can see me covering it up here with some cream-colored dot grid paper, but after I was done finishing the journal, I actually went back and covered the whole bottom of this page with the same black construction paper as the top of the page. The cream-colored paper just really stood out, and you don't see it when I back up the camera and show you the whole page, but you will see it when I do the final flip through, and I think that it looks a lot better the way it is now. Especially with the Days Red spread having the black on the bottom as well, it just looks a lot more finished. This is your reminder that any mistake can be fixed. This next page is actually the spread that inspired me to go down this Gothic-inspired theme. I was inspired by the channel Icy of IC Studio, who did their Books Read spread with all of these fun picture frames. I loved the idea of that and decided to implement something similar as my TBR spread. So I started by adding this red paper to the page to look a little bit like wallpaper. And I printed off the covers of all the books I want to read this year, and I glued them to black construction paper, cut them out so they look like frames, and added some detailing with a black marker. I just placed them in a random pattern on the page to give it a bit more of an organic look. I also ended up placing this little oval-shaped picture of a bird with some books to change up the look of the page. Because I'm only adding book covers, all of the pictures have to be vertical, so this just adds a little je ne sais quoi to the page. I was happy with how the left side of the page came out, but I wasn't super thrilled with the right side. You'll see as I place down a picture of the book cover for Bunny that there's some gaps around it. Again, when I was done with the setup, I had a few moths left over, so I added them to those gaps and it looks a lot more filled in. Again, you'll see those when I do the final flip through of the spreads, but with that, the TBR page is complete and we can move on to the next spread. This is my bookshelfy spread, and I decided to get all adventurous with this one. I thought that I could use the bookcase spread as a great way to continue my theme, so I found a picture of a Victorian-esque bookcase on Pinterest. It was this one, to be exact, and I recreated a simplified version of it in my journal. I originally tried to include some of the more detailed areas, but designing this bookcase was already challenging enough, so I just went for the general shape. I did keep the little cross at the top though, just to pay homage to that original bookcase. So I'm going around and outlining the bookcase with my LePen marker before going in and outlining some of the book spines. I have exactly 45 books on the shelf, so if I complete my goal, all of the books will be colored in. I fill in my bookcase in a random order, and I do this because I would rather have blank spines in various spots rather than all piled up at the end. So there are a few book spines on each section of the bookshelf, and this is so that I know that the shelves look balanced even if I don't color them all in. I'm then going in with a black super tip to fill in the bookcase. I learned from the index spread that I wanted something a little bit bigger to help color this in. It isn't quite as dark as the Tombow brush pen, and I did go back and touch up some of the lighter sections with the Tombow, but I saved myself a lot of time and a lot of ink just by using this marker instead. As I'm coloring this in, I thought I would talk about some of the spreads that won't be in my journal. Like I said, this is my 4th year of having a reading journal, so I've already worked out what works and what doesn't work for me. So I won't have any stats pages in this setup, but it isn't because I don't track my stats. I actually have an entire Excel spreadsheet, but I save the stats for the end of the year. I also don't have a new releases spread. I know most people include this one, but to be honest, I don't read a lot of new releases. In 2023, I only read one new release. And even if I buy a new book, no one knows when I'll actually read it, so the spread just isn't useful for me. Lastly, I don't use monthly TBRs. I've tried so many times to use them and I always fail. I enjoy the year-long TBR because for me it just feels a lot less stressful. This box on the left-hand side is my legend for how I'm going to color in the book spines. Some people like to color in the spines based on genre or by star rating or so that they match the actual spine of their physical books, but I like to color mine in based on the format that I read them in. Again, most people who do this usually use 3 colors, one for physical, one for audiobooks, and one for ebooks. However, I do a lot of combination reading, and what I've found works for me is to actually use 5 colors. I give a color to physical plus audiobooks and ebooks plus audiobooks because it just better reflects how I read. It's also easier than coloring in the books half and half. It just looks a little bit cleaner to me. I'm going to add these little stickers to show what colors I'll use for each book format and fill in the border, and that will be this page done. This is my alphabet challenge spread. I added this page to my journal in 2023, and I had a lot of fun with it. It was the first time I'd ever included a challenge type spread to my reading journal, and I did not even come close to completing it, but I enjoyed having it. I really became aware of just how many books start with the same letters. The most popular letter I noticed was I. There were so many books that start with the letter I. But other common letters I saw were B, C, G, M, and S. I'm not really actively trying to get all of the letters, but it's something I find interesting to keep track of. Last year, I only tracked book titles, but this year I decided to add author names as well. I think I'll have a bit more luck with the author names, especially since I'm planning on going by authors' last names. I add a little bit of red washi tape to the bottom just to introduce a bit of color onto this spread. But once again, I ended up adding both a picture of a bird and of an Edvard Munch painting to the top 2 corners off camera, just because it felt like something was missing there. Again, you'll see those in the final flip through. Up next is my books hauled spread, and honestly, every year I debate whether or not I want to include this spread. It can be so embarrassing sometimes looking back on how many books I acquired versus how many books I actually read, but the TikTok girlies all like to talk about how book buying is different from book reading, so honestly, I'm just indulging in a side hobby, so it's all good, no worries. This spread is pretty simple. I create 3 columns, one for the book title, one for the author's name, and one for the date I hauled the book. I don't include the price of books because I add all of the books I acquire, whether I purchase them or not. And quite frankly, I don't want to know how much money I'm spending on books. I'm just adding another little black section here with a header to finish off the page. And with that, we can move on to the next spread. This is my book club tracker spread. I have a little book club with a couple of my friends. Honestly, book club is a bit of an ambitious title for what we do. It's more of like a glorified buddy read, but we call it a book club. This is a spread that won't get touched until the end of the year because we don't plan out how many books we'll read. The first year that we had the book club, we read 16 books in the year, but last year we only read 6. So to avoid leaving myself too much room or too little room, this page will remain empty until the end of the year, and I'll print off the book covers of the books we read together and add them. I usually also add my star rating as well, just so I'm able to have a quick look at how the book club year went for me. But with that done, we can move on to the last 2 spreads. My second last spread is my series tracker. I included a series tracker for the first time last year because I am chronically awful at reading book series. I never pick them up. I am terrible at continuing them. I just honestly prefer standalone books. I like being able to get in and out of a story and not need to be tied down to 4+ books in order to finish the entire story. And I am the exact same with TV shows as well. I don't even want to get into all of the shows that I've never seen or finished because it's a little bit embarrassing. But I'm trying to get better, and I figured that a series tracker would be a good way to help. So I've included the 3 series that I am currently in the middle of. The first one is A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. The second is the Dune series by Frank Herbert. And the last is Mistborn Era 1 by Brandon Sanderson. I definitely plan on finishing Mistborn this year, but I'm not anticipating that I will finish the other 2. In fact, I know that I won't be finishing A Song of Ice and Fire because I actually force myself to read that series 1 book every year. I do this in hopes that by the time I finish A Dance with Dragons, Winds of Winter will come out, but honestly, I'm not that hopeful anymore. I'm coloring in the boxes to show which ones I've already read, and I'm adding some lines through them to show that I read them prior to 2024. So any books I read in those series or other ones that I start will get colored in with one of the 2 markers and without the lines. You'll see that I end up changing the red color in this spread. I thought that the marker I used was just a bit too bright for what I was going for. So you'll see later that I end up going over it with the same marker I used for the title page and the Gothic window. And the very last spread I'm including in this setup is my reading resolution spread. I used to call this just a goals page, but I saw Brittany from Brittany the Bibliophile have a similar spread in one of her reading journals, and she called it her reading resolutions, so I've been calling it that ever since. I have 4 reading resolutions for myself this year. The first is to read translated works. I've read translated works in the past. I've read from Frederick Bachman, and I've read the entire Witcher series by Andrzej Sapkowski, but I'd like to read more internationally. There's only one book that I have in mind right now, and it's called Strangers by Japanese author Taichi Yamada, which was recently adapted, so I'll probably read that one pretty soon, but otherwise I don't have anything specific. I think I'd like to try at least one Russian classic though. I always hear things about Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, and I just kind of want to know what the hype is about. My second resolution is to finish 3 series. I always have a series goal. I failed to finish 3 new series in 2023, so hopefully 2024 is a bit better. The next one is to read 2 Stephen King books. This is also a goal that I always have. I really like King and I have a lot of his books, but I'm not always in the mood for them. So I try to encourage myself to read at least 2 every year, so I'm constantly narrowing down my unread collection of his books. And lastly, I want to embrace rereading. I don't often reread books, mostly because I'm worried that I won't like them anymore, but I'm also aware that there can be a lot of joy in rereading. I'm curious to see how books I read when I first started getting into reading compare to my tastes and my standards now. I'm just finishing up this spread with some washi tape and a few more moths, but otherwise, that is my 2024 reading journal setup complete. Before I jump into the final flip through, I thought I would give you a quick view of my 2023 reading journal. This is my first YouTube video, so obviously I've never shown off any previous reading journals. I actually attempted to film the setup of my 2023 reading journal, but it went so horribly wrong that I never finished the video. I had my tripod on the table and my camera shook the entire time. I kind of felt nauseous watching the footage back, and so I'm glad that I waited a year to troubleshoot everything and put out something that I'm a lot happier with. But I figured that I could show you all what my journal from last year looked like, so you have an idea of what my upcoming journal will look like as well. I'm planning to incorporate a lot of similar things from last year into this year. I will be making some changes, but I think generally they will both have the same feel to them. It also gives you an idea of the kinds of books I read and which ones I like and which ones I don't like. Overall, I think my 2023 reading year was good. My favorite book of the year was Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. This was my first time finishing the Six of Crows duology. I had read Shadow and Bone and Ninth House, but honestly, I didn't enjoy either of them. And I'd heard so many great things about this duology, so I didn't want to completely give up on Leigh Bardugo before giving Six of Crows a try. And I'm so glad that I did because I loved it. I'm not sure what the general consensus on these books are in terms of whether people like the first one or the second one more, but I personally thought the second one was amazing. I liked Six of Crows, but I loved Crooked Kingdom. I also reread The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. This is my favorite series of all time, and I was so excited to reread it. I actually ended up annotating my paperback copies of the books as well, which was really fun. I've never annotated books before, so I wasn't really sure where to start, but I found a method that worked for me, which was highlighting based on character. So I matched each character to a color, and anytime there was something I wanted to highlight that was associated with that character, I would use their particular color. I had so much fun with that reread, and I chose to do themed spreads for them in my journal, which you can see I don't do for the majority of books I read. If you're interested in reading my thoughts on any of these books, feel free to pause the video and check them out. Fair warning that there are spoilers for each book though, so do with that what you will. My plan for the future of this channel is to upload a video around the beginning of each month and walk you through the review spreads for all the books that I read. I journal about every single book I read. It was the primary reason that I started a reading journal in the first place. I wanted somewhere to write down my thoughts on what I was reading so I could remember them a bit better. Some months will obviously be more exciting than others, but I'll do my best to make sure that I read at least 2 books a month. That way there's something substantial to watch. Like I said, I usually read at least 2 books a month, so it shouldn't be too difficult, but we'll see. Now that we're done with the 2023 journal, we can finally move on to the flip through of my 2024 reading journal setup. I really hope that you enjoyed watching the setup of this journal. Having a reading journal has turned out to be a very surprising hobby of mine. I have always thoroughly enjoyed setting mine up in the privacy of my own home, and so I figured that maybe now's a good time to start sharing it with other people. I'd love to know what you are planning to read in 2024, and if you have any recommendations for me, I would absolutely love to hear them. I hope to see you again at the beginning of February for my very first official reading journal update. Until then, thank you very much for watching.